We're going to look at the best starter deck for all of you new players in Marvel Snap. For all you old players, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, whether you think this is good or not. We are going to look at all the cards before Series 3. For the new players, we'll explain what that is in the video. Let's jump in. So right to it. This is the deck. I think this is the best starter deck for you. Again, before Series 3. What does Series 3 mean? We talk about our ladder or our level. You come here. This is known as the ladder. You can see this number right here, 6,592 for me. Pre-Series 3, sometimes called Pool 3, is 486. So once you get to 486 and later, that's when you enter what is called the Series 3 pool. A bunch of different cards are at that point. Prior to that, you have like a recruit season, I think a starter pool, a Series 1 and Series 2 pool. And that's what we're focused on. So this is really for those true beginners. So this is that deck. We are going to walk through what these cards are, how it works. But first, I want to shout out Marvel Snap Zone for being able to have this really cool deck builder. You can come in here. You can find different cards. You can filter things. You can see I filtered for night. That's what showed up. You can click this button here. I talked about the different sources. I've got collection level 1 through 14. Pool 1, Pool 2. I've unchecked Pool 3, Series 4, Series 5. When you hear pool and series, it basically means the same thing. And then there's a couple I took out season passes, no source available. I kept in recruit season, starter card, etc. So that gave me an option to come in here and look through all these different types of cards. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about what this deck is, the general concept of it, some potential alternates that you might want to put in, and we'll talk about how these cards work. So let's talk about the general gist of what this deck is. It is built around Devil Dinosaur. It is a +2 power for each card in your hand, and it's ongoing. So that's going to be laid down either on turn 5 or turn 6. And based on how many cards you have in your hand, at the end of the game, the power of this is going to go up. So because of that, you want to use cards that continue to put cards in your hand. Cards such as Agent 13, which we'll talk about in a second, Sentinel, Moon Girl, White Queen. Those are the type of cards that will put additional cards back in your hand. Now, Collector is something that you can take advantage of as well that can give you points when you put new cards into your hand. You've also got some nice other one-cost cards in Sunspot, Nightcrawler to potentially reach lanes that you are unable to get to, like Sanctum Sanctorum. Mr. Fantastic is a great card to play in the middle and potentially get additional points off to the side. Cosmo is just a good protection card or a good counter for opponents who are trying to on-reveal. But remember, if you put Cosmo down on a lane, do not put Moon Girl or White Queen or any of these cards that are on-reveal cards on that lane because they will not work. It's really there to protect your Devil Dinosaur. That's mainly it, or potentially a lane where you're going to drop the Infinaut late. The Infinaut is a great card. Say you're not getting your Devil Dinosaur play. The way the Infinaut works is if you don't go on the previous turn, typically that's turn 5, you can lay down Infinaut on turn 6. And because you've got Sunspot out there, Sunspot will get all 5 of that energy as power. So it is a great card to throw into this deck. So let's go talk about some of the specifics of all these cards. Now, I'm not going to go through every one of them. We already did Nightcrawler. You know he can move to a lane. We talked about Sunspot before, where he costs 1, and any turn you do not use energy, it goes to him as power. Now, you've got to remember there are going to be something that comes along as a starter called Killmonger. It's a 3-cost card, 3 power. If your Sunspot is not protected, Killmonger kills it. Any 1-cost card, Killmonger kills. That is why we've got Armor in here. Armor protects any card in their lane, either from a Killmonger or potentially a Shang-Chi if that card is higher than 9 power. And that's how Shang-Chi works, is if your card is higher than 9 power, it will destroy it when played. Agent 13, again, on reveal, feeds into that Devil Dinosaur because it adds a random card to your hand. Now, if you keep playing all your cards, then your Devil Dinosaur is not going to build up. But anytime you can play a card and then get a card back, it gives you points. Sentinel, same concept. On reveal, always puts a Sentinel back in your hand. We talked about Armor. Now let's focus on Collector a little bit. So what Collector does is anytime you put a card into your hand that wasn't there previously, Collector gets points. It is +1 power for every time you do that. So what you want to do is you want to lay down Collector before you play your Agent 13s, before your Sentinels, Moon Girls, etc. Because that way, every time you use Agent 13 or a Sentinel, you get +1 point. Then you've got Mr. Fantastic. He's an ongoing card. Adjacent locations get +2 power. He's a great early game card. Cosmo, we talked about earlier, another ongoing. He prevents on reveal abilities from happening. Typically, this is something to prevent your opponent from doing something or to protect your cards, like I mentioned earlier, Devil Dinosaur or the Infinaut. Moon Girl, on reveal, she's going to duplicate your hand. So this is a really nice card to use with Collector and with Devil Dinosaur, because whatever you've got in your hand, it doubles it. And the thing to remember about this is you only have 7 cards you can keep in your hand at a time. So if you play her on 4 and you've got 3 cards in hand, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you want to see, or if you've got 4, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You won't get this other one duplicated. So it's important to know what in your hand. Ideally, what you have in your hand is, say, a Devil Dinosaur at the front end, and maybe even a Agent 13. And so what you can do is you go Devil Dino, Agent 13, random card, another Devil Dino, Agent 13, random card. You play your Devil Dino on 5, and then on turn 6, you play the repeat Devil Dino and your Agent 13, which builds into both of your Devil Dinos. It's a really, really nice play. Even if you aren't able to duplicate your Devil Dino, you are building more cards back into your hand. You could always play Devil Dino on turn 5, Moon Girl on turn 6 with maybe Agent 13 or maybe a Sentinel, anything along those lines. It all works really, really nicely. White Queen is on another on reveal. She's a strong card at 4 cost and 6 power, but she also gives you your opponent's highest cost card. So you now gain information from your opponent that you might be able to play on turn 6 as well, which is really, really helpful. Again, building into Devil Dino, which we've talked about, building power in your card, etc. The Infinaut, you do not play on the turn prior to lay this down. It's an insanely strong card. Like I said, you don't have the line to maybe get your Devil Dino going. It's not going to be very big. Maybe you skip that turn 5, let Sunspot soak in all of that energy and just lay down a 620 on one lane that you haven't played in the whole time. And 20 power is huge. So that is a great, great card to play. So let's talk about cards you can sub out and potentially bring in, because sometimes you don't have all of these cards. One that I'd look at initially subbing out, Nightcrawler, and again, we'll go through the cards that we can sub in. You just might not have a lot of locations you need to move to. Maybe you're not digging them as much. Collector, I didn't play Collector a lot early game, so I'd certainly understand maybe taking Collector out. He can get a little clunky if you don't get him early. He's a potential one to take out, but he does get those points like I mentioned. After that, maybe Cosmo. Maybe you're just like, you know what? I don't really need this protection for Devil Dino because I'm only playing him on turn 6, or I'm not playing Infinaut. I don't really need protection for them. Infinaut is the other card that you could potentially sub out. Maybe you're not finding that you're skipping very much on 5. I would drop Infinaut. Now, let's talk about cards that you can bring in. In theory, you could bring in Mantis and some of the other Guardians, but that's guessing when you're going to get a card. I'm not sure I love that, but I did want to mention it. Iceman. So on reveal, Iceman gives a random card in your opponent's hand plus 1 cost. It's a really good card. You don't know what they get hit or what gets hit, but it's super powerful. It's something to think about. Star-Lord and Gamora are also in that Guardians category, but again, that can be a little hard to predict correctly. Okoye is just generally not a bad card. I'm not going to say it's great, but it's not a bad recommendation. Same thing with like a Scorpion. It hurts your opponent, takes down some points. Not bad. You'll see a lot of Scorpions later as you keep playing. Medusa, generally speaking, is an okay card to put in there. Player middle. Player with Mr. Fantastic, it's not a bad middle lane. Forge, giving +3 power. He's not a bad card these days. Lizard is actually a good card in general, but you've got a high risk, high reward on it. If your opponent plays 4 cards in that location, it means it goes from a 2/5 to a 2/1, which really hurts. Cable is similar to your White Queen. It draws a card from your opponent. It's on reveal again. That's a good card to potentially sub in. I debated talking about Nakia and Morph. I don't know. They're okay. I'm not going to go over them, but they're there. We talked about Killmonger earlier. Tech card. You're going to hear that term a lot. Tech meaning that it's something that you can sort of adjust what your opponent's doing, whether it's destroy a card, move a card, all that sort of thing. Killmonger is one of the strongest tech cards in the game. On reveal, destroys all 1-cost cards. Your 1-cost cards and your opponent's 1-cost cards. So that's where you got to be careful and potentially have those armors to protect against Killmonger. I want to bring up Warpath because you've got a lot of ongoings. Ongoings, again, it's something that happens ongoing in the game. With Warpath, if any of your locations are empty, that's +4 power, which basically means you're going for only 2 lanes. You leave a lane alone and you play 2 lanes. If you play Warpath and want to do that, the other card that I'm going to mention right now is Spectrum. Because you've got a number of ongoing cards, on reveal, give your ongoing cards +2 power. So that means every one of them. So your Warpath goes from 4-9 to 4-11, and then all of the ongoings that we had in this deck, your Armors, your Mr. Fantastics, your Cosmos, your Devil Dinos, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's potentially 8 more power you put on the board. But again, it depends if you're really leaning in on that ongoings, and plus, don't forget the Warpath. Not saying it's a great option, but it's an option. Shang-Chi is also another great tech card. He destroys on reveal, he destroys all enemy cards at that location that are +9 or more power. He is a huge card that comes in late game. You can play him a little bit early game. I'm not sure how much it'll get used, but it's an option if you're finding that you're seeing a lot of big power out there. Jessica Jones, JJ, she's generally a pretty good card on reveal. If you don't play someone there the next turn, you get an additional 4 power. So maybe she's the last card you put in a lane potentially on turn 4. She'll turn into a 4/8, not bad. Enchantress is another tech card that is insanely powerful, and you need to protect for your Devil Dino. I talked about Shang-Chi before. It also protects against Enchantresses. So that's where that Cosmo becomes really important, because on reveal, what Enchantress does is remove the abilities from all ongoing cards at the location. Your Mr. Fantastic goes away, your Armor goes away, your Devil Dino goes away. Any ongoing abilities are dead in the water if Enchantress gets played on them. But Cosmo prevents that because she's an on-reveal. Spider-Woman is generally a good card. She's at 5/8 on reveal. She afflicts enemy cards here with -1 power. So you want to play that on locations where someone's got 3 or 4 cards, does a lot of damage. Claw, another ongoing if you want to do it. He is really, really clutch in trying to get lanes that you can't play in. Again, a Sanctum Sanctorum. You play him on either the left or the middle lane. You never play him on right, and he gives you the location to the right +6 power. So you get 4 in the lane he's played in and 6 on the lane next to it. He's a great card, and honestly comes in so many times where people are like, oh, I didn't even think about a claw play there. Oh my God, are you kidding me? He's a really good card. Iron Man, fantastic card, also ongoing and doubles all the power at this location. Great when teamed up with Spectrum, because he goes from a 5/0 to a 5/4 because he becomes 2 from Spectrum and then doubles to a 4. Hobgoblin is just a great troll card. It goes to your opponent's side for -8 power. It's fun. Blue Marvel's actually a good card too. It's ongoing as well and gives all your cards +1 power. We already mentioned Spectrum, great card. And then last but not least is America Chavez. Now, I originally had America Chavez in this. The basic purpose of America Chavez, one, she's a decently strong card. She's 6 cost, 9 power, but she always stays in your deck until turn 6. And what that does is thins your deck. So you have a more consistent deck to potentially play prior to turn 6. So that way you're more likely to get your Nightcrawler, Sunspots, all of these other cards before turn 6. Now look, you're still going to miss out on some of these cards. So sometimes people don't like playing America Chavez because on turn 6, they might have really needed Moon Girl, and now they're guaranteed to not get her. So that's the downfall of potentially putting America Chavez in this deck. So I'm going to go ahead and try to play this deck out right now in the elo I'm at. So I'm going straight in just like this. We're going to see how it goes. So what you're seeing above me is a tracker in game. It's from untap.gg that shows my decks, and you're going to see one on the other side over there for my opponent as well. These are very helpful in determining what they might have. Really, I like to use mine just to remind me also what's in my deck. But because I've got a streaming setup, I've got it able to show like this in case you're curious. Now, so we've got the Raft. The first one to fill that in gets a free 6 cost card, which we are really sitting pretty nice on right now. I went with Collector first as opposed to Armor, because in case I get, say, my Agent 13 or Cable next turn, I want to be able to get a card from that and feed power to him. Additionally, I might snap here depending what happens. They've played Colossus. Oh, Triskelion. You know what I can do is I can Juggernaut this turn, and then next turn I can play probably like an Armor on that. And get that in, so they're not going to be able to get this, and I will. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and snap. I might even skip turn 5. We talked about this. Now, that Infinaut came from the Triskelion, which gives you a bunch of random cards, but I can skip my turn 5 and play Infinaut on turn 6, which would be huge. All right, so we bump their card out of the way. Their Cosmo goes way over there, which is fine for me. And then for Moon Girl right now is not worth anything. So really, I just want to put something to protect my cards over here, specifically my Sunspot in case they have a Killmonger. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll get a free 6 cost card, and then we're going to skip turn 5. We'll get 5 more points from Sunspot. Galactus, wow, what a terrible one to get to. So Galactus, the way he works is if he is the only card in a location and you're winning it, then he destroys all other locations. So I'm going to skip here. We'll see what happens. If I know I'm going to win the left-hand side, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play my Infinaut and my Galactus. Yeah, this is fine. So there's no way they're going to be able to have 27 points on the right-hand side. So I'm 100%, well, I guess we'll see. I mean, maybe they could arrow something, but it won't really matter. Actually, they can't, they could, because I'm full over here. They need 17 points left or 27 points right. No chance. I'm telling you right now, this is a game winner. They've got Cosmo. They've got priority, which means they go first. You can see that their name is glowing. That means they go first before I go. So I'm going to go ahead and take this down. They retreated. They knew they weren't going to win. I get it. So let's see how the next one goes. All right. So we are switching our decks to make sure that we got the Infinaut version in here now. All right. So we start off with the Raft. If I can fill that up first, that means I get a free 6-cost card, which is huge. Looks like they've got a Hood, which gives them a Demon, which is a 1-cost 6-power card. I'm going to armor over there so that they hopefully cannot destroy that. We'll see. Now I cannot play Cosmo there. If I am a, ooh, that is a really good pull there. Now, normally I wouldn't do this, but what I'm trying to do is get this done, and then I can play this next turn. And if I need to play there later, I can move my Nightcrawler off that location somewhere else. And I could potentially skip turn 5 and play my Infinaut. Nothing to get there. They've got a Wolverine. They've got a Demon. So we're both going to get a decent free 6 cost. So neither of us are snapping, but we both get it. I get Leader. Now, the way Leader works is I get to copy whatever card they play last turn to my side. So to me, this is an absolute win, assuming I can guess which lane they're going to get. They cannot do anything here. There's no way they can do anything here, whereas I can. So I'm going to snap. I'm going to skip my turn. And last turn, I'm going to play Infinaut and Leader. And again, Leader copies the enemy card with the highest power, but on my side. So I'll get whatever it is that they're going to do. So Nimrod, this is interesting. So whatever they do here, it jumps around. So what they might do here is, oh, okay, so they retreated. The only play they had there was a potential destroyer play, which if I would have done, would have meant it would have destroyed everything on my side except for what's in here. So that could have been sort of funky, but we take down the win regardless. All right, we're going to try to go into Conquest with this deck. Just proving grounds, but still. We'll see if we can beat an opponent straight up. Okay, dokie here. Let's see what we get. Dream Dimension is terrible for us, especially since we got Moon Girl and our Devil Dino early. Oh, gosh, the RNG is terrible. I'm going to play Nightcrawler to start. We'll blind play him off to the right. Could be good, could be bad. We'll see. Kiln middle. We'll see how that goes. We'll put Collector there. That's a good draw. So that way he can keep getting points later on. Moon Girl still might not be a bad play. Oh, actually, we like Sentinels. So this is phenomenal. Thank you for that. Ego, no. Okay, so Ego is just, the AI takes over. So you always snap on Ego. That's the rule. Well, you can if you want. Typically, I don't do it in Conquest, but it's just sort of like, whatever. We both snap. Oh my God, the crazy madness. So we're letting Ego just take over. We'll see what happens here. I don't love that it's in Conquest, but it is what it is. All right, so we get our Mr. Fantastic, which is good. We get our Nightcrawler move. There they play a Surfer mid. They're upset about that. They do not like that early. So let's see. We're still just collecting cards. This is all fantastic for us. All of our cards are able to be played this way. Next turn, we're likely going to play Moon Girl, which is awesome for Collector. And there's a good chance we're going to play Devil Dinosaur, hopefully on turn 6. But Ego sometimes just plays the cheapest cards in your hand. So it might just play a bunch of Sentinels. Ooh, a Goose. That's interesting. They get a Maximus. Ooh, that Maximus is nice. All right, I'm glad that went to the... I hope it doesn't play that. So now, is it going to play the Moon Girl, or is it going to play... it's just one Sentinel? Really, Ego? Come on. What a bum. What a bum. Well, what's it going to play last turn? It's likely just going to play a bunch of small cards last turn. We'll see. So we can't get any more cards. Oh, man. This Marvette is not happy about life right now. Okay. Wow. This is so weird. This is so weird. What's going to happen? This isn't a great example of how this deck works. They obviously retreat. I'm not sure if they'll stick around or not, but we'll see battle ready. All right, they leave. Well, look, Ego's good with it. Let's actually get one more. Okay, so let's see here. What do we get? We get a Titan, which really doesn't help us all that much unless we skip turn 4, and we have an Infinaut, which isn't bad, honestly. All right, so this is a Darkhawk deck. They're throwing rocks at me. Monster on the middle. They've probably got a but let's go ahead and Blind Collector to the right. Our Sentinel and White Queen will help fill that up a little bit. They've got a Jeff, which is a fantastic card you'll get later in the game. my God. Or Oscorp Tower, really? Wow. All right, they're snapping, so we're retreating immediately because they get the collector. That is one of the bad things about blind playing in locations. So we know that's not a good thing, so we're just going ahead and escape that one and go to round 2. All right, so we start off with Armor, Collector, and Cosmo again. Nothing to play turn 1. We'll go ahead and probably... Do we want to play safe this time? I don't know, probably not. We don't learn from our mistakes here. Ooh, +5. So what do we get here? 7. So what we want to do here is we want to do this. I would love to play Cosmo, but I don't think we're going to do that quite yet. So we'll go ahead and do that. Maybe, let's see. We got 7, 5, 7. Or, no, we can do. We might want a Moon Girl at some point. So let's get our good cards out right away. Let's see what we got. All right, so it takes out our armor. They play their Jeff. So that means what Black Bolt does is gives them a cheap stature. So they've got an Iron Lad, which will copy the text of the next card you've got in your deck. Shadow Ninjas, all right. Now we've got a 3, so let's go ahead and Mr. Fantastic mid. We don't have a lot of cards to be able to use for a collector. There's that cheap stature, which is a really nice card. Let's go ahead and this could potentially duplicate. So our option, what Iron Lad does is it copies whatever card we have next. So it could be a Sunspot, Agent 13, Nightcrawler, Moon Girl, or Infinaut. Really, the only bad card here is the Infinaut because that won't do anything. Ideally, it would be a Moon Girl. That would be a perfect draw. Let's see, doesn't show, so I got to click on it. So theirs was a Killmonger. All right, so that's actually pretty good for us. What do I get? Nightcrawler, not bad, not great. I think we're going to Cosmo here, and we are going to Sentinel here to get us a little bit. Actually, no, I take that back. Let's Sentinel mid. We're taking priority a little bit. Darkhawk. All right, so that's there. So they're probably feeling really good about that. They do not have a Zabu, which normally reduces the cost of 4 cost cards. All right, so our best play here, they're likely going to win. Let's see. So what we can do here is move our Iron Lad. This is going to be a 2, 4, 6. So this is a 9-point card. So we'll play that mid and give up on left. We're not going to snap. We're just going to see what happens. Wow, they go full-blown right. All right, so let's see what that other card is that they're playing there. A Killmonger. That's not going to do it. Nice. So we take down that game. That's awesome. We did get the advantage of having that Iron Lad in the starter deck, but because of the White Queen, and that is something that you got to think about. All right, so Armor, Sentinel. We can play something on turn 1 that we normally couldn't before. Let's go ahead and we'll just Armor off to the right. We'll see if that's helpful or not. Turn 2. Come on, give us a collector. Give us a collector. We might Cosmo somewhere here. Ooh, we don't like that. No, we want a collector, but we don't want to risk what's happening here. Man, that's tough. Man, that's tough. You know what? You only live once, ladies and gentlemen. Collector's gonna go right. Collector's gonna go to the right. Ugh, you bum. So now we don't have that energy anymore, which is not the end of the world, but still sort of annoying. All right, I think, let's see what we're going to get here. Murder World. All right, let's go ahead and do this and do this. And then I'll probably, oh, they play it mid. Wow. I thought they were going to be scared of playing into Superflow. So that rocket is no good. Captain Marvel go. All right, so that blocks their Superflow. We've got a Devil Dino going. Let's go ahead and block mid, because I think they're going to try to do on reveals mid. Whatever they're doing there is not going to work, so that's not going to work. So that's just a regular 6, which is good. Now let's go ahead and Devil Dino. Oh, hold on a second here. Let's think about this. Yeah, we're going to Devil Dino mid, and then we're going to either play... Actually, hold on. Because if I get a Mr. Fantastic next turn, let's do this. Let's Devil Dino right, and then if we get a Mr. Fantastic next turn, we'll play that mid. Interesting. So now they get an extra point. I do not, which is a good play on their part. So we are going to go here and here, though, because that builds up Collector and builds up Devil Dino and potentially limits their Captain Marvel from going. We're going to snap and see what happens. I don't know what they're going to do to be able to get this, but I think we're in a pretty good situation because we're adding 11 points left and we're adding a bunch of points right as well. And we honestly gave up on mid. So we'll see what they're bringing to the center. We were already giving that up. They've got a Darkhawk mid and a Killmonger, which doesn't do anything. Yeah, all right, we take that one down. So we get 4 cubes out of that one. That was a good one. Did my opponent rage quit on us? I think that they maybe did. They did. Wow. Wow. So look, this deck is a starter deck. The deck that I was playing over there against, that is one of the best decks in the game. Jeff, paid card. Iron Lad, paid card. Legion, paid card. Now, we didn't know what these last 2 were, but a lot of what they had over there are considered paid cards. The nice thing about Marvel Snap is I took this starter deck. Now, it was just one Conquest, but it was still able to beat someone in it. Marvel Snap is a very free-to-play friendly game, and I highly recommend just learning how to play certain decks, and you can beat almost any other deck in game. Sometimes there are disadvantages and you're not gonna be able to win depending on the matchup, but here's some proof that you're also able to do really well against top tier decks with the starter decks. So again, try this starter deck out. I think it's a top-notch type of starter deck. Will evolve decks as you move into Series 3. Things expand dramatically, but the game is very free to play friendly as long as you know what you're doing and know your matchups, where to play certain things, when to back out, etc. If you found this video helpful at all, please consider hammering down that like button, share with your aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, all that sort of thing. And until next time, we hope you have a wonderful day.